Hello, everybody, and welcome to In the Doll World. I'm your host, Georgette Taylor, along with my beautiful co-host, Tammy Fisher.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Tammy. And today we have an amazing guest with us. And I'm telling you right now, up front, I'm going to fangirl, so I'm just going to get that out there. Today we have Mr. Byron Lars, and he is an exceptional, oh my goodness, fashion designer. He started his label back in 1991, and he is still making fashion statements today. They're just as exquisite as they were before. He is the owner and founder of In Earnest. And for us at In the Doll World, he is also known as the iconic designer to 16 beautiful, and I mean fiercely designed African-American dolls from Mattel. So thank you so much for joining us today on In the Doll World, Byron. We are just so excited to have you here on the show.
Thank you both so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, it really has been an honor to have you. As Tammy mentioned when we were not on camera, that you were probably one of the first people that I really wanted to talk to when I thought about doing In the Doll World, because for me, I've never been a huge doll collector. I love dolls, but I didn't collect dolls as much. And besides creating my own line of dolls, but your dolls was the only ones that I've collected, because I just thought that they were just so beautiful, and the detail on your clothing was just so iconic for me. I just never seen African-American dolls that looked like the dolls that you presented. And so literally your dolls are the only dolls that I collect. So, so I'm just so excited.
I'm very proud of my girls bearing that mark of distinction.
Yeah.
It's funny because Georgette isn't the only person who I know who is not a doll collector, who is a Byron Lars doll collector.
Yes.
The only dolls that they have in their collection are yours.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I know a number of people.
Sharing that. It's really nice to hear. I'm touched by that. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I'm sorry, we just start talking.
Yeah, we're just touched by the dolls that you create. So before we go on a tangent, here,
really,
we just want to start with what the question that we always start with our guests, and that is, tell us a little bit about your doll journey. I mean, did you have dolls when you were growing up? You know, did you play with them? Did you not think about them until you worked for Mattel? What is your doll journey?
Well, you know what? I was thinking back about my doll journey, and I actually did have one doll. I had a G.I. Joe once, and he went on a lot of adventures and all that stuff, but I didn't really, he didn't last that long in my, like, you know, toy journey.
Right.
But my, some childhood friends that we had, like my best friend, Marky, his sister was such an avid Barbie fan that it just defied all reason to us. And then some new kids, like girls' sisters, moved like 3 blocks away. They lived on the street where my grandmother did. They were childhood friends, and boy, they would just have these hours-long Barbie sessions that like would drive me and Marky crazy, because we'd be like, can't we get a kickball game going? I mean, y'all like all wrapped up in these dolls and we can't do nothing. And any childhood dispute between brother and sister, Mark and Shalise, would end up with Mark hurling one of the dolls on the roof.
Oh no.
And then consequently me scaling the roof at some point to retrieve her and get back. So that was basically my doll experience as a child. Not real nice, right?
No.
The Barbie rescuer, Barbie Superman.
That's what you were, the Barbie rescuer. That is so funny. That is so funny. So since you didn't play with dolls or have dolls,
no,
so it's a whole different journey for you. Yeah.
But I definitely witnessed how important they were in the lives of my female friends at the time. I mean, they dreamt big through Barbie, and it was definitely apparent how important that was for them and their development and all that. But yeah, when Mattel called me all those years later, and you know, to do that first Barbie, because it was going to be a one doll deal. I mean, that's how it was gonna go, and I immediately thought back to those days and the roof.
And the roof.
Retrieve Barbie from there. And I got a kick out of that. And anyway, but the first doll, you know, that was when, you know, a lot of the old guard that like, you know, Ruth was still at Mattel, and
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Wow.
it was like
I didn't know
her
that.
final days
Okay.
there,
Wow.
and Ruby. There were a lot of people from like this old guard of like what Barbie were still there, and they were calling on like new designers. You know, like at the time I was new, and you know, of course, we had like all these ideas of where Barbie could be going and should be going, and she in fact is going now. They have taken her there, but then it was a bit of a struggle to
Yeah.
bring her along. So quiet as it's kept, the first doll was not super fun for me to engage on because it was just so much, you know, corporate meddling, if you will. It's just like, you know, the first one you might be interested to know was wearing pants, you know.
Oh, okay.
And then they were like, no, she can't do that. You know, this is in the collectible Barbies. Of course, she wore pants in the mainline dolls, but it was like the collectibles. They were like, no, she needs to be this and glamorous and this. I'm like, but she is glamorous. I mean, the initial one had like this reversible shearling coat, and it was just really a fabulous day look, you know, and I was just so excited about it. And it was just like, it was like, yeah, it's like, you know what, you need to have a meeting with the dream killers. But suffice to say, we got through that first doll, and listen, I'm proud of her because, you know, we did what we could there. But of course, with the success of the first doll, which was in the only doll,
was that in the limelight, right?
That was in the limelight, yes. And you know, it led to a second doll, and there were similar constraints on that one, but a few less. And then that one led to a third doll, which, you know, even fewer still restraints, because, you know, the better the sales, the less control that they, I guess, felt they needed to wield. Then a real big shift happened, like, you know, Ruth retired, a lot of the old guard, like, kind of retired, and new people came in, and they're like, you know, and there was a male overseer at that time, I can't remember his name, over Barbie, and he's just like, listen, my only connection to this doll is the numbers she brings in, which ironically just opened everything up. They have some creative designers there that's, you know, to actually fabricate those tiny little details and all that stuff that were just dying for a chance to be unleashed.
Yeah.
So that's when the dolls really got, you know, I was able to do kinky hair. You know, I was able to like do an Alec Weck black doll, like that dark.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, there was resistance. It was just like, oh, we can't photograph her. I'm like, I'm sure if they can photograph a live human being who is this color, you can manage getting it together for a doll who's not going to complain about the brightness of the lights.
Wow.
The stress is pinching me. None of that. So we can do this.
Wow.
But once we did, it was amazing success. I mean, and since then, there have been many, many other dolls, even some others of mine that have that coloring, and clearly, you know, something people were waiting for.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because I mean, she is very, very dark, and it was not. That was definitely not a color that you saw, you know, represented in the doll world, especially in Mattel. I mean, let's be real. But even in the doll world, it still took a long time, because I think you're talking about the Mbili,
yes.
Mbili, right? Yeah, but she was like in 2002, so I still don't even think back then there were dolls that were that dark coming out and being showcased. So that was definitely a turn, I think, for the better. You know, it really was. Yeah. So.
Yeah. In fact, I think I'm not sure whether the sculpt of that doll or the color itself, you know, because they have like names for all the sculpts and names for all the colors or whatever, but one or the other is Mbili, since it was the first.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice.
And which is the number 2 in Swahili, by the way. That series, African Treasures of Africa, those are all like 1 through 4. in
Okay.
Swahili, Moja and Bili,
Moja, right. Mm-hmm.
Tatu, Tano,
Mm-hmm.
which,
Tana's cool too. I love her too.
I'm like a child of the 70s, so we used to learn that stuff back then with like, Black Power and all that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
You knew, yeah.
You need that
knew what the
connection to
words were.
where you came from. You know,
Yeah.
we need that connection. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how
So
how did you go from one doll to 16? I mean, like how did you like,
With Mattel, it was sales. I mean, that's basically the beginning and the end of it. Because
yeah.
as I said, it was supposed to be just one doll. And honestly, I kind of, the first doll, like I said, was kind of like such a torturous process. I'm like, I don't know if I have it in me to go through this again. Because it was, it just at the time, just to get them, I'm just going to say it, black enough. You know what I mean? Like that was just really important to me. What does that mean? Black is everything. But there was a kind of blackness that at that time, they were just not ready for Barbie to, be.
Right.
Like the kinky hair and stuff.
Okay.
It was just like, it took so much to just get that there. But it's like, but it existed. You know what I mean? I saw bags of it. I'm like, so somebody made it. All we need to do is just get it on the doll. That's it.
Wow.
So
yeah. When you said that, I wasn't sure if you were saying blackness as in just the color, because you talked about the difficulty with getting the color, but you're talking about
the sensibility.
The whole yeah. So you talked about the hair and even those dolls, they have I'm going to call it like a high-end fashion African look.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So is that part of the blackness that you're talking about too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm sure I had like images of like my childhood images, fashion images of like, I don't know if you remember this model, Munya. She was this African model that Mr. Saint Laurent always used. Mm-hmm. And my only experience with fashion was basically my mom's Ebony magazine, which at the end, showed the Ebony Fashion Fair and all these amazing Black, beautiful creatures and all this beautiful foreign fashion. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, who are these people and where do they go in these clothes? What kind of life do they live? And that's clearly what is happening with Barbie, with, people dreaming through her. It's just like, wow, she has a fabulous life that she needs these clothes and all that. So I completely, even beyond my control, went back to that kind of thing and seeing like Munya with a thick, full, glossy lip and a Saint Laurent lipstick. And all that stuff,
Yeah.
So that's totally where they were coming from.
Yeah. And I think, it's because before you even started with Mattel and doing that, you had such an extensive background in fashion and anyway, fashion designing. So, I guess you really had an opportunity to see like those things, come to life, and so I think that's what made it a little bit more exciting for you probably.
But there was definitely a steep learning curve there because you do fashion, and I think that's what a lot of designers learn when they have a chance to do a Barbie. It's like a lot of the things that work on people just don't work at that scale. Yeah, oddly enough, even no matter how much experience you have in fashion, making clothes for people, it's a whole nother ball game in making something that's like compelling for a doll and scale the things to scale down and the choices that you make, like what to add and what to take away. And, like sometimes on people, it's super interesting for things to match. It's like ironic to have a pattern that carries forth in the shoe and the jacket and the hat. And, that's like really special. But on a doll, it just looks like, okay, well, you had a quarter yard of fabric and you decide to use it up on everything on the doll. It's completely the opposite. It's so uninteresting that you really need to think about like how to create like the texture and dynamism without it being too much. It's just really interesting how involved the whole thing is, which you know very well because
yeah. Well, I know when we did the dolls, what we found interesting was when we first had somebody sketch the the clothes, she had like this fur, she had fur around the collar, she had fur around the bottom of the dress, and it looked great on the picture. And then when they did the sample, we were like, oh my God, this is just, it's too much for this little doll, and she was, plus size. And so, but all of this fur, and it just it did not look good. So we wound up taking half of the fur off, because we realized we wanted to see her body too. So all of this fur was covering up the shape of her body, which is really important for us. So it was just too much, but it looked great, in the sketch, it looked beautiful. But when it was on her, it was like, oh, that's not gonna. We even had a split in the front of the dress, and it was just, it just didn't do well. So yeah, but we're not designers, by the way. So.
Well, but here's the thing, though. It's just like, you don't really have to be a designer to like really know what you like. I mean, in essence, I guess in that context, it's almost like being like a stylist, but instead of for an actress, it's for a doll.
Right. Yeah.
And it's still, you have to make like informed choices for a person, just like you do for a doll. And that's all a learning process to see what works, what doesn't work, what can be taken further.
Yeah, that's true.
Back next time, all those things.
When you were designing dolls, I know this is going to sound crazy, because it's like trying to choose a child. Nobody wants to choose who's the best child, because as parents, there's no best child. But which doll did you find more interesting to work on when it came to designing them? The clothes that you thought about. Which is more fun?
Designing. Yeah, it is really difficult, because there were certain aspects of so many of them that were, really interesting. Like, for instance, like the boot on Mbili, like, is a sewn fabric, and on the inside there's like a shoe last base that clicks to a platform, component that had to be sculpted. And so working that out was super interesting. Working out like even the framing that some of the braids got built on for the African collection. Definitely the African collection, I think, was the most really challenging.
Great. Yeah.
In terms of the design. A lot of the other ones were fun, but they didn't have all those like real, like, the mechanics
kind of stuff.
Involved in it. So though that series was definitely the most interesting to work on.
Yeah, I think they were all real interesting in the choices that you made, especially with, like you said, with the braids and the crown, kind of like, you know what I mean, with the braids. It was just really pretty cool. I like Pepper, I think. Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pepper. Yeah, I love Pepper just because, it's about like that big, bigger than life hair. And
a little tiny hat. Kind of on the side.
Wow, that was super fun.
I love the way you described it. Big.
It is, and this little tiny hat cocked to the side. It's like, oh my goodness. But she's pretty cool, though. She's pretty cool. I love it. Because too, the other thing too, like even in the steampunk, world, you don't really see too many African American, dressed up and things like that. And so I think you brought a lot of different styles and a lot of different looks to different types of genres too. So that's what I loved about it. Loved about your work.
Thank you so much. It's just, that's just part and parcel with the world. I mean, because there's all kinds of Black women with all kinds of style, but we always put the hot sauce on it. That might be, spanning many different points of view, but there's always that little bit of, sass that's in there. Yeah. That we bring to the table that is just really super interesting to see it in a doll. Because I guess, that unless, I think it took a Black designer to care that much, to bring that much Blackness to the dolls, because otherwise it's just checking a box. If you're a corporation just looking for sales and stuff, it's like, I guess you needed somebody that was that invested and that even had that kind of like that many reference points
Yes.
of what, you know, the journey a Black doll could take. You know,
That's true. Have you ever thought about doing any more dolls, you know, on your own, or you know, your own personal line? Or I mean, I know it's trust me, I understand it's daunting to do those things, but you have such, I mean, you did such amazing work. I would love to see you do them on your own, you know.
thank you so much. It's like, but I just don't have any real ambitions to do that. It's like you said, completely different discipline. It's like, you know, it's because it's like, wow, that guy can eat a lot of pizza, but I'm not going to open a pizzeria.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I understand. Yes.
Yeah. And I was expecting a different answer. And the reason for that was when I read the front of the In Earnest page, the final statement was like you had done these dolls and that there was this like opening, there's this open space there that could be filled. So I thought you were hinting at you were going to do some more dolls.
Well, she mentioned doing it on my own. That I would
Oh, okay. That's
got
okay. Okay.
But I do. I mean, and we as a company, as In Earnest, do have like some philanthropic yearnings for Barbie, and maybe how that could play itself out. So we'll see. I mean, we're still exploring like how it could be, but it would be really great if she could help people. You know, like help some of the marginalized, like, you know, achieve some fashion goals, like even studying or I don't know. We don't know what it looks like, but
that sounds like
there's
a
nothing
conversation.
happening. There's nothing happening now, but just the seed of an idea of maybe something, a future for something that could happen someday.
I know the company that you had before this was Beauty Mark, right? And then you decided you was going to relaunch it and rename it to In Earnest. And why did you do that? Because I want people to hear that story about why you chose to do that.
Good story.
Well, you know, first and foremost, like I rebranded with my longtime colleague, Sheila Gray. So we are doing this on our own now. And this is kind of one of the first times that, like, even though I've been in this industry forever, this is the first time that like it's me and a partner really doing it. There always looked like it was me and a partner, but there was always some other outside forces like helping everything along. This is us on our own.
Wow,
so
that's great.
And you know, that's some of the fallout from the pandemic, but it's a real, as it turns out, to be a blessing, albeit a mixed blessing. You know, there's a whole lot of other involved, but a blessing nonetheless. And the name, my dearly departed father's name was Ernest. I don't know if you knew that. And he was indeed an earnest man and lived his life in earnest. He's no longer with us, but my middle name is also Ernest. So, you know, it was just charged on so many levels. And since by definition, in earnest means occurring to a greater extent or more intensely than before, it's also a mantra. It's a mandate. So, you know, it's just really what we want to be about on everything you talked about, being inclusive, about diversity and all those good things. We want to put more good in the world and using this as a vehicle. Of course, you know, want to make people look fabulous too. That's always good.
Of course.
That's not a but, that's always an and.
And to make people look fabulous. That's
Exactly.
great. Yes, that's really wonderful. Yeah, I found that story to be really touching. You know,
yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I really did, because I can feel that, you know, with what you're doing now. So so I think that's a good testament to how you plan on running your business, and you know, and sharing the designs that you have. I mean, I've seen a lot of them already on Instagram. They're just beautiful. So
thank you.
and the fact that you do plus size, I'm so excited about that, because think we need more designers doing plus sizes, and
We
just
do.
plus clothing. Yes.
We
Georgette and I will
absolutely
come and
do
model for
that.
you.
Okay.
Anytime, girl. Although right now, in earnest, we're only doing plus via Anthropology because they have the reach for us to do the volume that our factory requires.
Yes.
Because, we were fighting that good fight a bit before it became the fashion.
Yes.
And we didn't do it as a stunt either. I mean, we really did it because we know that girl is our girl.
Right. Yeah.
And she's just a part of the fashion story that we'd like to tell. And we really did not want to delineate her from our mainline girl that we've worked on and established for many years. But at the same time, we also understand and respect that she has very special needs. So we rebuild that product on a size 18. So it's basically, in essence, taking one dress and designing it twice. It's working it out, emphasizing, and really working it out on a size 18 so they can grade down to 14 and up to 22.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
And,
that's nice.
Yeah.
And, like we don't do it on our own because we can't. Our fit model is, fits for a lot of really, established plus brands. And she is very vocal. And we welcome that because it's like, you need to educate us on what you need and what she needs.
Right.
And what she's not getting and what she appreciates and what she doesn't appreciate. So that level of thoughtfulness is always built into our product, no matter what size it is. So
I just want to be clear. You're saying that the model that you are using for your plus size, or the models, they are telling you what they want and need. So they are part of the whole design process. Is that?
Well, let me be clear. It's she, because modeling, there's all kinds of models. There's commercial, there's fashion, there's runway. This is a fit model. There are models that get paid basically to fit. This is where you perfect the patterns on things and get it right and ready for.
Oh, okay.
Okay. See, I had never heard that term before. I heard you say fit, but I didn't understand that word was significant. Okay.
I think very few people know that that's a very essential part of the process, the design process. I mean,
I had never heard of it before.
Yeah, you make samples and they you put them on, fashion models and photography models and runway models, but then there's the fit model is where you build what will be sold in the commercial world. That's what the customer, that's where you get everything perfected and tweaked out and and fixed, because a lot of the samples, they're samples. They have issues, and some are imperceptible to the human eye. But if you were to just grade those up and make them like a size 8, as that was, you'd be like, this is like doing this. This doesn't sit right. This is always doing that. So you get it right and perfected on a fit model.
Okay. And do the fit model? So do you have fit models? Are they just plus size models, or are everything that you do, there is a fit model, like a fit size 8 model?
Our fit model for our regular size is actually a fit size 2.
Okay, and, but she's a fit. That term is still used. Fit.
That's her job. She's a fit model. She fits for us. She fits for lots of other brands. Like she goes from place to place, just trying on clothes, and this is pinching here. I don't have enough room there.
Okay,
interesting.
Learned something new today.
Well, and here's the thing: it's like that's that extra level of care and love that really represents your care and love of your customer. Because there's some brands that do just kind of like, they make a sample, they make production. They may tweak something out here, whatever. They don't even really have a fit model. They like try it on somebody in the office. And I guess depending upon the intensity of the fit of your product, like if you're making caftans, you can probably do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when you're making sheath dresses, not so much.
Yes. Yeah,
And
I understand that.
skinny pants, not so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely understand that. That's interesting though. I just never thought about that. I just would
me either. I just thought they just
samples, and they just went to, after they finished that, it went directly to get taken care of. But like you said, it just depends on the the company too, I think,
Yes.
you know, and the people who are designing that, what they want to either, you know, to tailor more or to make sure that it's more specific to a client, then they would probably do a fit model probably.
Yeah, I'm sure the brands that you know and trust and love absolutely go through that step.
Okay.
Because that's what gets that kind of, you know, integrity in the product.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. So did you have fit models for the dolls? I'm just joking. Did you?
But I was
Probably.
I did.
See?
Oh, you did? Okay.
Well,
That
no,
is so
you know,
cool.
basically
You had
they give
the
you
basic
like the
doll.
body sculpts.
Yeah.
You know, like you have the sculpts at home. So
Okay.
and then you have like the continuum of all the sculpts of the heads and all the skin colors. Like it's really fascinating. The process is absolutely fascinating. But I mean, you guys know, I don't have to tell you, but to, you know, an outsider, which I absolutely was before, you know, Mattel brought me in.
Right. Right.
It's just, it's fascinating. And never ceased to remain fascinating for me.
Yeah.
Even after all these years.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to hear this conversation, because this conversation is the same conversation that we have with people who are making dolls. And we know that a lot of the doll makers came in, you know, especially some of the founding mothers, fathers, and of the modern fashion doll came from the design world.
Yeah.
So this sounds a lot like those conversations. And then there's the conversation that I never thought about with clothes. You're talking about, you have like minimum runs, and that's part of the thing that we talk about in the doll world, because people are saying, well, you know, someone call you up, and I had a lady say, I want to make a doll. I want 20 dolls made. And it's like, no, you don't. you can't afford 20 dolls. So it's
at $3,000 each.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You have that market?
Yeah. And that's what I mean when people come to me, and I hope people don't feel like I'm being cruel or anything like that. But when they come to me and they say, oh, I want to make a doll, because I want to make a doll, you know, do you have like the amount of money that you could buy a house with a mortgage? Give them a mortgage amount of money that you could lose and be okay. If you have that kind of money that you can lose and be okay, make a doll.
Yeah.
Go for it. Because if your doll doesn't, you know, work out, it didn't hurt you.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that kind of money, then you need to step back and see if there's something else, because that's what people are talking about when they're talking about making dolls. They're telling us about how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, or, you know, it cost me $20,000 to make the mold, $50,000 to make the mold. And so,
yeah.
And
the other thing too about that is great, because it leads right into this question I was going to ask Byron, was that it's not just about like, I have this money and I want to make a doll. It is the process of making the doll that can be much more frustrating. And I know you mentioned before that even though you were working in a company that had all of these people, it still took you forever to create a doll. So talk about that experience. I mean, because I think people don't think about, they're like, oh, I have a doll, this is what I want it to look like, and this, but they don't understand the process of each one of those little things. And every time you change something, or if you don't like the hair, how many hair, you know, types and all this stuff you have to go through to make it. So so share that with us, because
Well, I mean, even being like experienced in manufacturing by the time that I, you know, met Barbie, it's still so many other facets of manufacture that are involved in making a doll than making a dress. I mean, you know, quite frankly, making a dress is much easier than making a doll. And making a dress is not easy at all. I mean, and getting it out there to market. So that just kind of puts in perspective what making a doll takes, because I was kind of blown away at all the detail there is. And then of course, once I got into it, I'm like, well, of course, how do you think she's gonna get some shoes? I mean, how you think she's gonna get lipstick if you don't think about it? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. And And so that whole process from sketch to being ready to go to market was a year, 1 year, 12 months, and sometimes 13 months.
Wow.
You know, it was a full year. And that's because then there's the packaging and there's, you know, and how you even want her to be in the box and how they go about like even drilling the holes in the package to make all that happen. And it's just so intense. The photography, even for the marketing, I'm like, photo shoot. Yeah, of course there's a photo shoot. Yeah, I mean, what did you think?
Wow.
You know, but these are just things that you just don't think about when you just have a notion, I'll make a doll.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly how they say it too.
I'm so excited.
And we're not discouraging people, you know, because if you have a passion, you're going to go and do that. We just always
you just need to know what you're going.
Be real with them and tell them, you know, that this is really truly how the process is. And and it's not just like, I just want to make a doll. Like there's so many other things that go into that. So when you were doing your dolls, so did you do one a year, or were you working on several of them at the same time?
It was pretty much one a year because, you know, it was just kind of like, I never knew. I'm like, is this the last one? You know, I mean, and whatever the answer was would be fine with me because I was just so thankful to have had the chance to make one, let alone 16. But, you know, then they come back. It's just like, hey, we're thinking about another series. And I'm like, you are? Oh, okay, well, let's think about it. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how it played out until it played out.
Until it played out.
Took a while to play out.
Yes.
A lot longer than any of us ever dreamt.
Well, because you went there in 97 was your first doll. I think you entered in 2011, which was a long time. Was the last doll you showcased. Yeah. So that was great. Gave us some amazing dolls. We were just excited. The rain we were excited about that.
You know, but speaking of that, you know, I was so like hung up on like, I want to be this dark. I wanted to have that kind of kinky hair. You know, honestly, that was just selfish yearnings. I'm like, I want to see that. But then I didn't really know how important it was until I started meeting my Black sisters out there who sometimes would have tears in their eyes. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Forgive me for getting shallow because I just thought she looked cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just don't think about the impact, right? You're just not thinking about that.
That she never saw herself that way. She never saw herself, and that's big.
Yeah.
The same way you fought for that color, like she is that color, and she never saw herself.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, and I just wasn't there. I was like,
you're looking at it from the artistic standpoint and not from
exactly. No, I can totally understand that. Yeah. I know when we did the Big Beautiful Dolls, I think that was the thing about it was that, and that's probably why when me and Audrey did it, we were thinking, Audrey, I will tell you, and she'll tell you this too. She's thinking about money. Oh my God, this is amazing. we can make some money doing this, And then of course we, ran into the same thing of understanding. Yeah, we can, but it costs so much more money to put into that. So, but the letters that we got back and the things that we got back from women saying, how important it was to see a doll that was plus size for them, it was just life altering. And sometimes you kind of get taken aback because you're not thinking on those terms. You're just creating a doll. It's not out there, but you don't really understand how it impacts other people.
I guess here's the big story. I guess we never know what God is doing through us with our own little tiny aspirations. You know what I mean?
Amen to that. That's true. That is so true. And
I guess it's not even productive to think about that because this gets too big and too daunting, and then you probably never even move to the next step because it's too much.
But I think you're right. I think you don't think about that. You just do what it is that, like you said, you're gifted to do. And those things show up. If you are the messenger for that, that's what's going to come out, whether you know that or not. And so you just go on and do your gift to the best of your ability. So but yeah, I'm excited. I really hope you do some new work with dolls, because
Yeah, we're excited to see
really would
something
love to
new.
see that, because you just really encapsulated so many amazing, fierce black women through your
Yes.
dolls, and we just
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that. So
Thank you so much.
yeah. So
Thank you.
you're so welcome.
Yeah, it's just such an honor to speak with you and to hear your story,
The
and
honor is all mine, truly, ladies. And I like I said, I'm not Mr. Doll, but I really
I know.
appreciate what you guys are doing, because I've witnessed firsthand that it's a lot more important than the doll itself.
yes,
Yeah,
that representation is
it's
just,
everything, really.
yeah,
It
Yeah.
really is everything. So
it
yeah.
really is.
But yeah, so what else? What do you have now for your new collection? Your clothing line. What are you doing with that? Can you share about
Well,
some information about that?
we're finishing up fall and holiday,
Okay,
and
nice.
I think we'll be doing something for Fashion Week that we'll give more details about
Okay,
in the
Nice.
coming weeks.
sweet.
And yeah, that is it. We got a website, In Earnest
Yes.
Official.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have even t-shirts on there. You know what? That's what I love about what we do here. It's just like, look, we celebrate all kinds of beauty. And it's been proven to me, it's just like there's a whole range of women, like body types, like sensibilities and everything, that like rock
Yes.
these clothes like nobody's business, and give us even more insight into their versatility, their
Mhm.
adaptability, and all that stuff. And it just makes us better designers. So
Yeah.
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 The other thing too, I think what happens is when you do fashion, I mean, you know this for sure, is that some people may not feel like that. They may not feel empowered. They may not feel confident. But when you put them in something that is tailored for them, or something that
Yes.
really accentuates not just their physical beauty, but just their beauty in general, by putting clothes on them that look good and feel good, they become just totally different people.
Yes.
we see it all the time. It's like one of the
Mhm.
best parts of my job, when
Oh.
because so many women perceive that they can't wear our clothes, and like the two body condoms. That's like, yeah, we are conscious of the body. So
Mhm.
we really make accommodations for it. And so many women that think they can't wear our clothes rock our clothes better than any skinny model ever could, because
Mhm.
they got the junk to fill it out and make it interesting. And
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love them having that moment in the mirror, seeing
Mhm.
themselves, like taking it in. It's just like they always turn
Wow.
around and get a shot at the booty. I'm like,
Hey.
it's good, ain't it? Yeah. And so, that's just super gratifying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
By far the most gratifying part of the job.
Okay,
Yes.
that's very cool. Very nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have you say again where people can contact you, so people know where to find your beautiful fashions, and get to know a little bit more about you, if they have not. I don't know how they could be part of In the Doll World and not know who you are, but there's some out there. But
Well, hopefully now they know.
but
Exactly.
now they know who Byron Lars is. So we're awesome. But yeah, so how can people reach out to you or find out about your fashions and what's happening with you?
Our website is In Earnest, INEARNEST, official.com. And that's the same tag for our Instagram, In Earnest, at In Earnest Official. And same Twitter, at In Earnest Official. Facebook, though, is at In Earnest BEL. That's the only one that's different.
And in each of those, there's no space between earnest and official. In Earnest
No,
Official, one word.
One
Okay.
word.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank
Well,
you so much.
Thank you
Fun.
so much for this interview. Thank you for being on In the Doll World with us, Byron. It's been an absolute joy, and I'm so excited to have finally connected with you. And
Me too.
man, it's been great. So thank you so much.
Thank you, ladies.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.